YouTube, what's going on? This is Liston 3270 with Liston Unfiltered. All right, I have another cool fight, fantasy fight that I haven't really heard anyone else come up with. And I think it's an interesting fight. It would be between Ike, the president Ibeabuchi, and the Nigerian nightmare, Samuel Peter. I think this would be an excellent fight. I think that it would be a hell of a slugfest. Ibeabuchi is kind of, he's a hard boxer to rate because, he really only has two really notable fights, naturally against David Tua. The two of them had an amazing firefight. I mean, at the time, it was breaking, CompuBox records for a heavyweight fight. It was an excellent fight. And Ibeabuchi also fought Chris Bird. He stopped Chris Bird, from what I remember, in the fifth round. That was also on HBO. Ibeabuchi had power. He had a very good jab. He had very good defense for a big man. And picked his shots very well. I think sky would have been the limit for him had he continued to embark on his career, but sadly, that was never to be. Ike Ibeabuchi got into some legal trouble. He got accused of rape. It's many people think that after his slugfest with David Tua, that the headshots that, even though Ike Ibeabuchi won the fight with Tua, he sustained a lot of damage. Some people think brain damage. He took a lot of headshots against Tua. They both were, really giving each other a beating. But Ibeabuchi pulled it out. But after the Tua fight, his behavior was said to be very strange. Even those closest to him, and he was talking like a lot of crazy talk, and maybe he did sustain some type of brain damage. But those are really the two fights that are very notable for him, and using those fights as a gauge as to how good he was. He had a lot of potential. Would have loved to see him match up with Lennox Lewis or Michael Grant, or at the time, or there's several heavyweights that he could have potentially had fights with, and it's unfortunate it did not happen. Big waste of talent, unfortunately. And then you have the Nigerian nightmare, Samuel Peter, who was very good too. Big puncher. I think there'll be people that disagree with me on this, but I think Samuel Peter, had underrated boxing skills. And I say that because if you look at his fights with James Toney, I think they were classic fights too. He was very smart against Toney, picked his shots very well. And even though James Toney was, older and stuff like that, James Toney, even as a heavyweight, even though he wasn't a natural heavyweight, was still very defensive, counter guys. He didn't have a knockout punch per se, but You know, he could definitely still counter these guys, and you know, he could also, you know, James Toney had a legendary chin as well. You know, took a lot of shots, and you know, I think Samuel Peter in their fights showed tremendous patience and very good boxing skills when dealing with him. You know, Tony was having some difficulties. I mean, it was a good fight. I mean, you know, mainly how Peter was dealing with Tony up against the ropes, how he was picking the shots. You know, a lot of fighters don't know how to deal with fighters who, you know, are against the ropes. I mean, George Foreman, you know, George Foreman's a good indication of, you know, not knowing what to do with a guy, you know, against the ropes. You know, how to pick your shots, how to deal with a guy who's standing directly in front of you. You know, but Samuel Peter, you know, he really did very well with Tony in those fights, and you know, Peter actually, you know, had a very good chin. I think an underrated jab when he would use it. You know, not the greatest footwork. It was very slow. Some might even consider him ponderous, but his power was absolutely devastating. One shot gets you out of there. You know, there's different types of power, and Samuel Peter, if he caught you clean, he can knock your head off. But Samuel Peter unfortunately ran into both Klitschko's, Vitaly and Vladimir, and that was about the end for him. You know, he met guys that were superior to him in terms of technique, and just, you know, he could not deal with that, and he had weight issues and getting into shape, and you know, Vitaly made him quit. You know, it was bad. You know, but I think this would have been a very, very interesting fight between Ibeabuchi and Samuel Peter. I really do. You know, I would have to go with Samuel Peter, I think, by decision. I don't think Peter would stop Ibeabuchi. And I mean, there were so many questions about Ibeabuchi that we didn't really get to, you know, get answered, because, you know, we didn't really get to see enough of him. And, you know, Samuel Peter by far had the better experience, and experience matters. And, you know, going 12 rounds and having the better competition, and how you deal with that competition as you're moving up, we never really got to see that from Ibeabuchi. And once again, it's very unfortunate, but that's how I see it. You know, that's how I think. And I think it would be a firefight. You know, maybe even multiple knockdowns. You know, I could see that. Both guys can punch. Ibeabuchi was probably more technically sound, but both guys, in terms of footwork and foot movement, they were kind of slow. But you know, I see Samuel Peter winning a decision. So, you know, let me know in the comments, you know, if you liked the video, or how you see the fight playing out, and you know, who you see winning, and how and why you like, you know, the fighter you picked. You know, and you know, until next time. Oh, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and talk to you all in the comments. Until next time, peace. I'm out.